There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise inside the mind grows louder than the world outside. You try to rest, but your thoughts do not stop. You try to focus, yet your mind keeps running, replaying old mistakes, imagining problems that don't even exist yet. You begin to realize you are not living your life. You are trapped inside your head. We live amidst a milieu of incessant stimulation. Every sound, every image, every word tries to pull our attention away from ourselves. And in that chaos, we have lost control of the only thing in our life that is truly ours, the mind. But what if I told you that thousands of years ago, long before social media, noise, and endless distractions, there existed a philosophy built precisely for this problem, a system designed not to escape the world, but to master it from within. That philosophy is Stoicism. The Stoics were not dreamers sitting in silence. They were soldiers, rulers, slaves, thinkers who faced chaos every day, yet found their peace in it. They learned to master the only thing that no one could ever take from them, their thoughts, their reactions, their reason. Marcus Aurelius managed an empire, but the best of his kingdoms was his mind. Epictetus was born a slave. His thoughts were freer than the chains that bound him. Seneca had wealth, power, and influence, and still reminded himself daily that everything external was temporary. Their secret: they learned to master their inner world before attempting to command the outer one, and that's what you are about to learn here. 7 timeless Stoic techniques that will help you master your mind, control your emotions, and build unbreakable peace. But first, you must understand this simple truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. The voice in your head is not who you are. It is merely a tool, a companion, sometimes even an enemy. And like any tool, it must be trained, disciplined, and guided, or it will rule you. The Stoic journey begins here, not with control, but rather with observation, not with power, but with awareness. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind," not outside events, he was not speaking from comfort. He wrote to himself during war, loss, and betrayal. He was reminding himself, and us, that the calmest mind is the strongest weapon. Today, as you listen, I ask that you pause, take a deep breath, feel the weight of your thoughts as they swirl and move, and then realize they are not you. They are clouds drifting through the sky of your consciousness. You are the sky, vast, unbroken, boundless. For you to control your mind, you have to learn to see it without judgment. Observe when it reacts. Notice what it fears. See how easily it clings to pain and rejects peace. This is your first Stoic lesson. You cannot command what you do not understand. Before setting out to conquer the mind, one must know its patterns, its weaknesses, its illusions. The Stoics believe that clarity begins with self-awareness. So, for the next few moments, do what few people ever do. Sit with yourself. Listen to the noise. Do not run from it. Observe your fears without fighting them. Let every emotion rise and let it pass, like a tide washing over a shore. This is not meditation. It is remembrance of who you really are beneath the endless chatter. The Stoics did not seek silence by running away. They found silence by mastering attention. They knew one thing: you don't quiet the mind by force, you quiet it through understanding. The moment you realize you are not your thoughts, you have taken your first step toward mastery. The world outside may still be loud, but the world within has just begun to listen. The Stoics thought that the mind is a stronghold, but first, it is necessary to learn to guard its gates. Every thought that enters shapes who you become. Each reaction defines how deeply you suffer. They understood something simple but powerful. If you do not learn to rule your mind, it will rule you. The first Stoic technique is the discipline of control. It all starts with one life-changing question. What can I control right now? Epictetus taught. Some things are within our power, and others are not. That one sentence, if practiced honestly, can end half the pain in your life. Think about it. You cannot control what others say about you. You cannot control weather, luck, or time. But you can control your attitude, your response, and your choices. The problem is, we often exchange our peace for control we never had in the first place. We waste our energy by trying to fix people, rewrite the past, or predict the future. And by so doing, we forget that all strength lies in mastering our response, not our surroundings.
When one stops fighting what one cannot change, you free up power to change what really matters, yourself. So when you wake up and the world feels too heavy, stop and ask, what is mine to command? If it is your reaction, your focus, your effort, then act with calm determination. Let go of it gently, yet firmly if it is out of your reach. This is far from giving up. It is strategy. It is wisdom in action. Do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, he knew inner control begins with mental boundaries. You have to protect your peace as fiercely as a king guards his crown. Now, once you understand control, you move into the second Stoic technique, which is the discipline of perception. Perception is the lens through which we view the world. Both can happen with two people facing the same event. One breaks, the other grows, not in the event itself, but in the interpretation they give to it. The Stoics taught that reality is neutral. It is our judgment that paints it with fear, anger, or hope, to quote Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and how true that is. We imagine disaster before it happens. We create pain that never existed. We let our minds predict storms that never arrive. But perception, trained perception, breaks this illusion. It teaches us to see things as they are and not as we fear them to be. Imagine losing something very precious. A job, a friend, a dream. The untrained mind says, this is the end. The Stoic mind says, this is the beginning of something I do not yet understand. One reacts with despair. The other responds with purpose. That is the power of perception. It is the difference between being destroyed by life and being shaped by it. So next time fear whispers, you can't handle this, stop. Ask yourself, what is the truth of this moment? Not the story running in your head, but the fact, the reality, the now. Most of the time, you'll see that the moment itself is not unbearable. Only your resistance to it is, Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself which troubles you, but your judgment of it. And you have to take that judgment away. That one perception is liberation. You have the power to withdraw meaning from suffering. It is in your power to see life differently. When you control your perception, you become untouchable. You may feel pain, yes. You may feel loss, yes. But you won't drown in it anymore. You will stand in the storm and whisper. This too is part of the path. These first two techniques, control and perception, are the basis of Stoic mastery. Control teaches you where your power begins. Perception teaches you how to use that power wisely. But that is not all. The Stoics knew that even when the mind understands control and perception, the heart can still rebel. Emotion, ego, and memory pull you back into chaos. That is why the next step on this path is not just about thought, it is about emotion. It is all about mastering your inner storms, the feelings that rise like waves and threaten to break your peace. And to do that, you need to master the third Stoic technique, the discipline of emotion. Because you can know the truth, but if you cannot soothe the heart, you will never live it. The Stoics understood something most people never learn. Emotion itself isn't the problem. It is our relation to emotion that destroys our peace. Anger, fear, sadness, jealousy, all part and parcel of the human package. But when emotion rules the mind, reason becomes a slave. And where reason is enslaved, suffering ensues. The third Stoic technique is the discipline of emotion. It teaches you not to fight feelings, but understand and command them. Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Each emotion is a signal, not a sentence. It asks for your awareness, not your obedience. Most people explode or suppress their anger when it rises. The Stoic does neither. He steps back and observes. He asks, what belief has created this anger? Maybe that is the belief that the others have to do what we want. Maybe it is the illusion that life should always go our way. But once you see the belief behind the feeling, the fire begins to cool. The same applies to fear. In itself, pure fear is not an enemy. It is a messenger. It shows you where you are still attached to control. It points to the edges of your comfort, to the places your courage has yet to walk. Seneca wrote, He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Fear, to the Stoics, was not something that needed to be eliminated. It was meant to be transformed into action. When fear says, "Don't try," you answer, "Watch me." When the anger yells, "They wronged me," you answer, "Perhaps, but my peace is not theirs to take." When sadness lingers, you sit with it, because the Stoic knows that running from pain multiplies it, while facing it dissolves it. Unexamined emotion becomes chaos. Emotion, understood, becomes clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In those words lies the very heart of Stoic emotional mastery, the power to remain calm when provoked, kind when tested, and steady when shaken. To practice this, the Stoics used a daily exercise called reflective observation. Each evening before retiring, they would go over their day not to judge, but to understand. They asked, "Where did I lose my calm? Where did emotion overtake reason? Where did I act with virtue?" This was not guilt, it was growth. They believed awareness, practiced daily, sharpens the soul. You begin to notice over time the moment emotion rises. And that level of awareness gives you a choice. You may still be angry, but you no longer act blindly from it. You may still feel fear, but you do it anyway. You may still have pain, but you learn to sit in it with grace. This is what it means to become emotionally invincible. Not cold or detached, but steady, disciplined, and awake. For when your mind and emotions are moving together in harmony, nothing can shake you. The Stoics taught that peace is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. And once emotion is mastered, you start to feel something new, something rare. Not constant happiness, but quiet strength. Not excitement, but deep contentment. That is the beginning of inner stillness. Even stillness is fragile if your environment keeps pulling you away. Even the most serene mind can break down amidst chaos, noise, and distraction. That is why the following Stoic technique is so essential. The fourth practice teaches you how to keep peace in the midst of a world that does not stop. It is the discipline of focus and simplicity. It will teach you how to build a quiet space inside your mind, where peace becomes your natural state, no matter how loud the world gets.